All right, so have a look up here. We've got this in our notes book. We're looking at the cosine rule. And so we're going to use this for finding an unknown angle or an unknown side. So if we have a look at this triangle labeled here, it's not a right angled triangle. And the way we label it with the cosine rule is if we have angle A, then the opposite side is side A. If we have angle B, the opposite side is side B. And if we have angle C, the opposite side is side C. So that's going to help us dictate which form of the cosine rule we should use. I've only written out the first one because I've been saved ink, but also because our circumstances just reflect that. Okay? So let's get straight in here. We're confronted with a triangle like this. We're given three sides and we're asked to find an angle. So if you're finding an angle, this is the form that you're going to use because we're trying to isolate the A, right? We're trying to get the angle by itself. And so what we need to do is label this triangle. Well, if this is angle A, then this is side A. All right, that's the first thing. And then B and C, it doesn't matter which ones we denote as B and C. All right, the point of them is that they're not side A. All right. And then we're just going to put all of the information into this formula. We're trying to find this angle A. So what we have is we have cos, we can use capital A or lowercase a, it doesn't really matter. I'll use lowercase a to be consistent with the problem. We've got cos A is equal to B squared, okay, so that's going to be 19 squared, plus C squared, so that's going to be 9 squared. Alright, see how it doesn't matter which ones they are because you're just adding them together, right? So it doesn't matter if you have 9 squared plus 19 squared. And then we have to take away A squared, so we've got take 16 squared. Alright, all of that on top of 2 times B times C, so 2 times 19 times 9. Okay, so I'm going to evaluate that in my calculator, right? I need to make sure I've got a fraction, all right? I'm putting this at the top, this at the bottom. I'm going to evaluate it, right? And so I'm rather than writing what it evaluates to, I'm just going to write answer here. All right, so what we'll have is we'll have cos of A equals answer. I'll evaluate it now. All right, so what do we got? We got a fraction. So do that first, then go your 19 squared plus 9 squared, take 16 squared on top of 2 times 19 times 9. 31 on 57. All right, so that evaluates to something quite pleasant, really. We could write it in there. I will. Every now and then you get these irrational numbers with heaps of decimal places, so we'll just write it like this because it's a nice thing. 31 on 57. So remember, we're trying to get A by itself. We're trying to get the angle by itself, and so that's when we do inverse cos of what we have on this side. Okay, this is the whole right-hand side, and we're calling the inverse cosine function of that side, and that's going to tell us what the angle is. Now, sometimes the question might say find the angle in radians. Sometimes it might say degrees. Competent with both, just read the question. Here, we're given A degrees, right? So we should answer in degrees. We'll make sure our calculator is set in degrees. So cos of the answer, 57 degrees. 57.05, 57.1. All right, so still writing those four figures, rounding the fourth one. And so we've determined the size of this interior angle, right? And cosine rule, so we're always using cos, that trig ratio never changes. Okay, so what do? We labelled the triangle, we put it in the formula, we evaluated it, and then we apply inverse cos to both sides to get the angle. Very good. Move on to the next one. Okay, in the next one, we've got an unknown side. So now we're not trying to find an angle, we're trying to find an unknown side. So that means we're going to use this form, right? And so I'm going to label this as angle A and this as side A. All right, angle A and side A. We're trying to solve for x, right? So that's the one I'm using. I'm trying to isolate that part by itself. And then I've said B and C don't matter. They're on both sides, it doesn't matter what side we put them on. Okay, so let's write it out then. We're going to have A squared. Now A corresponds with X. Alright, so I've got X squared. Alright, I'm putting the X with A's equals B squared. Alright, what's B squared? That's 5. 5 squared. Plus C squared. So that's going to be plus 7 squared. So we have 5 squared plus 7 squared. Take away 2 times B times C. So 2 times 5 times 7 times cos 55. Cos of the angle. Alright, so we'll evaluate that one. This one might be a bit more messy.
It's 44.
It's 44. How did I get that one? Sorry. So that's 44 degrees. Yep. 44. Thank you. 5 squared, 7 squared. Take 2 times 5 times 7 times cos 44. Alright. So notice I evaluate that, and if you've done it, you've got 23.64621398. And so you don't want to write all of that out. It takes, there's a lot of numbers to write. So instead we can just write the answer. So we've got x squared is equal to the answer. And so what that means is x is equal to the square root of the answer. And so you can do that in your calculator. You can press shift square root, all right? So shift x squared brings up the square root. And then to bring up the answer, to bring up the previous, all of those digits, to make our answer as precise as possible, we press shift and then the minus button down the bottom. There's a little A and S on top of it. Shift minus, and now I've got written on my calculator, it says square root ants. All right, and I can evaluate that. And it's going to give me the most precise one without me having to carry all those decimal places myself. 4.862, 4 figures, and then we round. Okay, now we're not given a unit, okay? We're not specified centimetres or metres or anything like that. So instead we'll just write meters. All right. Okay, so I'll take you through that one quickly. What do? We assign angle A and side A. All right, that's the side we're trying to find. Here's side A we're trying to find. B and C, and then we just substitute straight into this formula. We evaluate it, and we square root to get x by itself. Okay, so some nice formulas, just a bit of number crunching involved. Again, we won't need to do all of these questions. I'll just list a few that I'd like you to do. And then perhaps in the second half of the lesson, we can spend some time on the following task. All right, so any questions about the cosine rule? Everyone pretty happy with it? All right, really good. So I'll stop there.